Hello and welcome to the Talking Yakyu podcast. I am Yuri Karasawa, aka Yakyu Cosmopolitan, and joining me is my co-host Brandon Tu, operations analyst at Sports Info Solutions and pro evaluator at Prospects Live. Now, we've done many episodes on YouTube talking about Japanese baseball over the past 2 years or so, but this is our first of many episodes in 2026 as this show will be expanding to have multiple episodes per month, as well as availability on other platforms such as Spotify. So, thank you to Japan Ball for making this possible, and thank you all for listening and supporting. Now, how's it going, Brandon? And what do you think of this off season so far?
Yeah, I'm doing great. The off season in terms of MLB took a wild turn, I would say. Just last night, or as we're recording this, with the Kyle Tucker news, and now Bo Bichette and then JT Realmuto signing. But on the NPB side, there's a ton of teams like doing some like foreign moves and also like just free agents like bouncing around inside of the league as well. There's been some really active teams in terms of free agency and even like the off season stuff this year, which has been really fun to like follow. Just all the different moves that's happening in MPB and also in MLB, but mainly on the MPB side.
Yeah, I think MLB, the offseason was so slow for so long, but now the dominoes are finally falling. And yeah, in MPB, you have a lot of these, kind of big name foreigners coming in like Miguel Sano, Jose Urena, Bobby Dahlbeck, Roshi Shu. So it's going to be fun. We'll probably do an episode next month, kind of diving into maybe a
Yeah.
few of these guys and how their games might translate to Japan. But before we begin, be sure to follow Japan Ball on all its socials and check out our official tour provider, Extra Innings Travel, for information and bookings on global baseball centric tours to great places like the Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, Korea, and of course, Japan, where I am one of the tour guides. And don't forget to subscribe to my MPB newsletter on japanball.com. Today's episode will mostly be focused on Samurai Japan's roster for the World Baseball Classic, but I do want to touch on these MPB stars who have found new homes over in MLB during the holidays. So Munetaka Murakami, he heads to the Chicago White Sox of all teams for 2 years and
Yeah.
34 million. Also, no minor league assignment allowed without his permission is an interesting part of that deal.
Interesting
Tats,
wrinkle. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Tatsuya Imai goes to the Houston Astros for 3 years, 54 million guaranteed, but 63 million max with opt outs in there. So another unique destination, not a team you see always on the Asian market. And then finally, Kazuma Okamoto goes to the Toronto Blue Jays for 4 years, 60 million plus 5 million bonus and no opt outs. We talked about these players in quite some depth back in November. But now that we know the exact contracts and landing spots, Brandon, walk us through your thoughts on each of these deals and which one do you like the most from a player and team perspective?
Yeah, I'll start with the one I like the most. I think the one that makes the most sense for the player lesson, like the team aspect, is Imai for sure. Just the opt outs inside of the deal. It's only a short deal. It's like 3 years, but with all these opt outs and the Houston also has to pay the posting fee. Like we
Hmm.
could see Amai only pitching 1 year with them, and I almost think of it as like if Amai pitches anywhere halfway decent, he's opting out, and as long as there's a 2027 MLB season, like he's signing for a decent chunk of money afterwards. I think teams were skeptical of the profile and of the like immediate rise in command gains and all that stuff. And it's almost like a we just want to see you do an MLB before we give you
Yeah.
like the real money. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Mai is if he pitches anywhere halfway decent, like I was trying to think of like what his numbers would have to look like for him to opt out. I'm saying like if he has like a 4 ERA or like a 3.9 ERA and he pitches like 130 innings or 140 innings, like 125, like he's opting out. Like I just think he's gonna get more money in that aspect. But he also has the fallback is like if he really likes Houston and what Houston's doing, like he can opt in. He can also opt out and then just sign a longer deal with
Yep.
Houston. And Houston has an inside track. I know Boris has like talked about how Kikuchi like really liked pitching in Houston and just liked what they did with him in terms of like simplifying everything for him. And maybe that's what a mind needs. He just needs someone to kind of get him into an MLB organization and be like, all right, let's simplify things like you do what you do best, and like let's figure out if it works in MLB, and if it doesn't, then we can obviously pivot and try other things. So I probably like that deal the most. The most interesting one is the Murakami deal because I don't know if most people had the White Sox on the radar, and I don't think the White Sox even realized they were on the radar until very late in the dealings with the off season and the posting window closing and stuff like that. They kind of swooped in and they're like, hey, if no one else is going to offer like certain AAV or give you the contract you want, like we're willing to go 34 million for 2 years. I know there's rumblings that like he had like a longer deal or like more money on the table, but for him personally, like he takes the 2 year deal. Let's say he hits 30 bombs this year, 25 plus bombs. Yeah, he strikes out a ton, but he proves he can hit 30 bombs in MLB. I mean, if he does that for 2 straight years, he's opting out and he's getting like decent amount of money if he hits 30 bombs. So I kind of like the deal for him. It's like a prove it deal, but also like when he does reach free agency again, he's going to be on the south side of 30. He's going to be on the right side of it, and he's going to be able to sign for more money, especially if he proves that he can hit and will be pitching. I don't know how you feel about the Okamoto deal because part of me is like I definitely understand where he's coming from. He wants to play for a contender. They were just in the World Series. He doesn't have to be the guy, and he got
Yeah.
a good amount of money to go there. So I'm actually like, in terms of production this season, I'm bought into like Okamoto being like the maybe the best player from these three guys. But it's also like the most interesting landing spot too. In terms of him just going to a contender and being like, look, I don't think I'm gonna stay stateside that long. Like my baseball career isn't going for that much longer. So he wanted to play for a winner. He's played for a winner his whole career with Yamiri, and I kind of get signing with Toronto and being like, hey, like wherever you guys need me. I guess the fit defensively is the one that we can talk about, right?
Yeah.
Like the fit defensively seems a little weird with Okamoto.
Yeah, the defensive part is a little bit weird because I'm seeing like Baseball America and stuff really rave about his defense. And you know what? Maybe he is a good third baseman. Maybe, with his ability to move around between first, third, and left field, he does actually provide enough defensive value to where it's fair to give him like a plus defensive grade. Based on what I've seen, and I think what you've seen, we don't really rate him as necessarily a good defender. I think he's fine. But I,
Yeah,
I think ideally he was more of a first base profile that could occasionally get plugged in at these other spots. Whereas in Toronto, because you got Vlad Jr. at first, he is going to be playing the hot corner a lot. And
yeah,
I think that can be both good and bad. Like it could, obviously if his defense is bad, that's going to hurt his overall like wins above replacement. But on the other hand, like it means he's not going to have to absolutely rake in the same way as Murakami to be valuable.
yeah.
And
That's a great point.
with Okamoto being face of the franchise of the Yomiuri Giants, being the first position player in Yomiuri franchise history to be posted. I just couldn't imagine him going to like a small market like Pittsburgh, with all due respect to what the Pirates are building there. Like I think Toronto makes a lot more sense. This is such a strong lineup, and obviously they keep adding to this team. David Popkins, obviously, well regarded as one of the better hitting coaches in MLB. And then Rogers Center, in terms of park factor for right-handers, is very good over the past 3 years at 101. It's like top 10 in the league, and it's very good for pull power, which is really
Yeah,
his calling card. He's not necessarily the massive exit velo like Murakami. He is more of like the consistently getting the ball in the air to his pull side. So I think the park's going to play really well for him, and I'm very happy he got the 4 years as opposed to three, just because entering his age 30 season, it makes a little bit more sense there for him to get the 4 years. And he can kind of ride off into the sunset then and just be like, all right, this was my, 4 year career in MLB. And then I'm going to come back home and hit some more bombs for the Giants. He can do that. Or, I mean, maybe he does get like a smaller, like 2 year deal, kind of, becoming like a Paul Goldschmidt type player at the end there, where he's still
yeah.
going into his late 30s. But yeah, I like the Okamoto deal. When it comes to Murakami and Imai, I just think the landing spots were just so out of left field
Yeah.
that was the part that really caught everyone's attention, right? It's like Murakami White Sox and Imai Astros. That was really not on anyone's radar. Yeah, I mean, shout out to Chris Getz and David Keller for getting the Murakami deal done. I think the Shingo Takatsu connection is interesting, of course, as
Yeah,
longtime manager on the Swallows, the first player in White Sox history, I think. It's a low pressure environment on this rebuilding team. And if you look at the projections, all the big ones, Oopsie, Bad X, Steamer, they all have 30 plus homer projections. It's just like the strikeout rate is a little bit different. So Oopsie has him at a 34% K rate, which I think is
and I think
right in line.
Oopsie uses Stuff Plus, so like they're gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, like I totally, I see the 34% strikeout rate. Like I get it. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I think when they get like a better idea of like the kind of bat speed and raw power this guy has, then you're going to understand that the power is going to translate. I just have no doubt about that. But Bat X has his projected K rate at an MLB worst 37.5%, which is like insane.
I like
But
Bad X. I think
I
Bad
think
X does
it's
a good job.
possible. Like, I think that is more likely than the Steamer projection, which has him at only a
Hmm.
28.7% K rate, which is about what he was running in MPB. I think that's going to be very hard for him to get to in his debut MLB season unless he makes some dramatic adjustments, which maybe he can. I mean, the White Sox are going to work with him. They've talked about that. But yeah, all these projections have him in a low 200s average. WRC plus is between 117 and 122. It's just
Yeah,
about like how volatile of a profile is this when it comes to the swing and miss. We've talked a lot about, just the in zone whiff concerns. And I like the fit in terms of because he doesn't he can kind of be one of the focal points of this lineup. I mean, obviously, with Montgomery and a few of the other guys, Luis Robert has a bounce back. Like the White Sox lineup is not that bad, but he
they're a
still will
fun
probably get
team.
pitched around, right? Like if he gets pitched around, then that's going to help him with the walk rate a little bit. Whereas on a team like the Mets, a deeper lineup, I think he could have been exposed a bit more. Where an opposing pitcher might say, "Hey, Murakami's the guy I'm going to target and go right after him." On the White Sox, he has a good chase rate. As long as he doesn't go away from the approach he had in Japan, his OBP floor might be not so bad.
Yeah, that also, if you're a White Sox fan, like this core of young players or this like lineup is fun. Like when
Yeah.
I go to the ballpark, I'm gonna be like, I get to watch Kyle Teal, Montgomery. I get to watch Luis Robert maybe bounce back. Maybe we trade him at the deadline. Like, I mean, Murakami, like if he's good, I, look, there's no pressure. Like just go out there and swing the bat and see if you can hit 30 bombs. Like I think you and I both agree that like 30 is like conservative for him. Like he could get to
Yeah.
like 35 if he makes enough contact. And I totally understand the strikeout projections. I think it's really funny that they're like all over the place. Um I do think like it would be hilarious if he just like reverts back to like 2021, 2022 Murakami and just like puts the ball in play and like hits the ball hard and doesn't really swing and miss as much, and then everyone's like floored, like, oh, like what happened to this like profile where we all thought it was like end zone swing and miss. I
Yeah.
don't project that happening, but there is a realm of possibility where like he hits like 250 or 245, like he actually like puts up a decent average in terms of like for him specifically, and then he also hits like 30 bombs. But yeah, in your eyes, right, like a 115 WRC plus is like what we've kind of both expected from him, and like if he's around a 115 to 120 WRC plus, which is what the projections have, like I think that's very much worth the money for the White Sox with the 34 million and the 17 mil a year. So yeah, I'm all in on like Murakami being in that lineup specifically, and the like the pressure that's like taken off of him by being in that lineup.
Hmm.
Like just go out there and play, man. Just go out there and swing the bat.
I really like that. It's that he took a prove it deal as opposed to like the safety net of say again 5 years 80 would be the same AAV, but
Mhm.
with him being 25 turning 26, like this is such a prime age of free agency where now he has a chance to try again after his age 27 season where he can show that, hey, I can do it at the MLB level. Like, let's not forget in 2022, this guy won the Triple Crown. Like, yes, because of the regression he has seen in his hit tool over the past 3 years, that's not really a part of his game that we've come to talk about anymore is the fact that this guy used to be able to, occasionally put the bat on the ball for a single or a double, as opposed
Yeah,
to just being like this, hulking slugger that is just absolutely swinging out of his shoe tops every time. But I think with Murakami, the White Sox got a kind of a steal, like 34 million for a guy that does have the ceiling of Schwarber, Olson, Nick Kurtz. Like that's pretty insane. And I think this ties back into Imai. The market just did not develop on these
yeah,
two guys in the way that we had initially envisioned. Now, I think we both said Murakami would get a little bit less than what a lot of the projections were saying. Like some projections, 150 million. We said, okay, let's probably hold the brakes on that. He's probably more in like the 80 to 100 range. But he only gets 34 million over 2 years. And then Imai, because of all the love being showered on him from the public side with Lance Brozdowski, Saris, and others, we were like just raising that
yeah.
projection up into the 180 million range, right? But he only got 54. So what do you think about that?
I was shocked, like at all, not the praise from Lance and I think they're right to like look at him a certain way. When I was thinking about him, I was like, is he really gonna get 150? Like
Yeah,
I had to like talk myself into it and almost be like, look, I know he's good. Like that's where I still go back and forth. Like again, if you ask me like next week how I feel about him, it might change. But I think where I've landed now is he's like a 50 plus to 55 tier FV arm. And
hmm
I think he's going to be a middle of the rotation guy in MLB. Now, whether he's middle of the rotation at the very beginning for Houston or he's more like a number 4 starter is to be seen. But I think he's going to be like a productive back end starter or at least middle rotation starter in this first MLB season. And I still just buy into the fact, and we've talked about this over and over again. He's going to throw that reverse slider, that gyro ball to right-handed hitters. He's going to dominate right-handed hitters. He just does. Like the look is funky, the low arm slot, the way he like doesn't extend down the mound, it kind of like shortens his like I guess length to the mound and the amount of distance it covers, so it like creates this like weird angle. Like there's just something about what he does when he like throws that pitch that hitters just can't pick it up. And I don't think that's gonna change from like I think MPB hitters are better at making contact on like chasing out of the zone and stuff like that. If he gets any type of chase like that in MLB, I think those numbers are going to be like insanely high in terms of chase rates. And then also in K's, what we've talked about extensively is what is he going to do for lefties? Like, how is he going to
yeah,
figure it out? And again, I push back on like people saying that the splitter is like a plus pitch or the splitter's really good. I think the splitter's good. I don't think it's really good. And I wonder if he's gonna have to like do something with the MLB ball to like figure it out and like get a better pitch. Also, just like what is Houston gonna do in general? Like Houston could like theoretically fix some things mechanically or fix some things with him just throwing certain pitches more, like the splitter, like he figures out a grip and then all of a sudden we're cooking. He's ripping splitters and he's making he's making lefties chase and stuff like that. And I do want to point out something that Chris Langan has said that the MPB zone is like vertically shrunk a little bit and it's like
right.
wider. And so he didn't get those high calls in an MPB as much as like other pitchers would get because he's throwing with such high velocity from this weird angle. Umpires just didn't give him those calls. And so I think in MLB with the challenge ABS system and like the fact that the MLB zone, like pitchers do get like the letter high strike sometimes. I do think he's like incentivized to pitch up with the fastball and stuff like that. And so as long as he has the command to get the ball up there, I think that's an avenue to like get left-handed hitters out and especially like mitigate left-handed damage and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see like does he just rip a bunch of four seamers up and like throw the splitter off of it and stuff like that? Because that could be a path to like being really successful in MLB against left-handed hitters. But I don't want to throw cold water on it, but he could be like a fourth starter, five starter for most of his MLB like debut, and I wouldn't be shocked by that just by what happens with command and getting comfortable with a new ball facing new hitters and stuff like that. Like it could go both ways. He could be really really good because no one's seen him before, or it could like have a little bit of bad success because like the ball isn't getting into the exact spots that he wants it and stuff like that. So I'm very intrigued as to what Houston's going to do with him and how he's going to look in his first year with Houston.
I think the fact that there was the report that the Yankees viewed him as a reliever is,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
crazy.
that does go to show you though that some teams just were not seeing the vision with Imai, right? And
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't want to push back and say that's crazy from like a Yankee standpoint because I totally get
Yeah,
it. Like I see what they're looking at with like the reliever thing. I just think it's crazy that you had that conversation and then you had people going, "Well, he could be a 2 or 3 starter," and so it's
yeah.
like the variance of
Yeah,
him as a
with
player. So
ace
yeah,
upside, right? So it's
right.
like I think yeah, the variance with him was almost as extreme as the Murakami conversation of like this guy's a total bust versus this is the next 50 homer bat. Imai was kind of that on a smaller scale, but I mean I get why, if you don't give Imai the benefit of the doubt on like literally every checkbox, then yeah, he turns into a reliever. It's like, okay, so his command backs up. He can't throw strikes. He has terrible splits against lefties. His fastball shape, gets worse with the MLB ball, and I get it, but I like the fit with Houston because this is a pretty good pitching org. Pitchers listed a nice article about how Houston has a type with these kind of flat four seamers that play well
Hmm.
up in the zone in relation to arm angle. So they've done it before with other guys, Christian Javier, Hunter Brown. Like this is a good group of guys to be around for him, and he's embraced the city obviously already in a way that I think Astros fans are going to love in a way very similar to Shota Imanaga for the Cubs. And there's the connection with, the aforementioned Yusei Kikuchi, who, another former Saitama Seibu Lions player, but also Kaz Matsui, his former manager, played
Yeah.
for the Astros. Not to mention the Astros stadium is Daikin Park, so that's a good kind of sponsorship deal that he can get. Uh, yeah, I think Imai. It's going to be really interesting to see how he kind of adapts in the first couple of months, right? And that's really going to kind of define his first season because, as much as we care more about how you finish as opposed to how you start, the overall numbers, like if you just have like 5 or 6 clunkers mixed into the season, they're not going to necessarily look that impressive. And we saw this with Imanaga in the opposite way a few years ago, where he
Hmm.
started so insane. He had this, Fernando Valenzuela like start to
He
his career,
miraged
but
everyone
then
a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, but then the second half wasn't that good, but it was like, okay, the overall numbers are good because of the beginning. I think Imai has obviously a higher ceiling than Imanaga. And, Dana Brown, Brian Rogers, like I'm happy for them to have entered the MPB market for the first time. This is their first signing directly out of MPB. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of surprised that the guaranteed money was only for 54, maxing out at
Yeah, that's
63
crazy.
with pretty conservative like innings thresholds to get to with 80, 90, and 100. Like I think he can probably, if he stayed the whole 3 years, he can probably max it out at 63. But I viewed Imai and still do as like a Kodai Senga type talent, right?
Mm.
Effectively wild, not necessarily the deepest arsenal. It's kind of like one plus pitch that carries the profile. Senga with the ghost fork, Imai with this unique gyro slider. And so but I did talk myself into okay, he's going to get 150 when I was like, okay, so he's a Senga level talent, but
And
he's been
Senga was
trending.
underpaid a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Senga
like
was underpaid at 75 for 5. He was really good. Imai's younger. He's more durable. He has more of the unique traits with the arm angle. So I was really starting to believe, like, okay, he's going to get the 150 plus. And then we had a bit of an anticlimactic end to that posting cycle. But, all in all, one thing I do want to say collectively about all three of these players is this is a loss for the MPB posting system because
yeah.
the fees going back to their respective MPB teams. So Murakami with the Yakult Swallows, Imai with the Cebu Lions, and Okamoto with the Yomiuri Giants. It is not very much money, especially for Murakami, where it's only 6.5 million or so. Imai and Okamoto is like 10 to 11, so that's not that bad. That basically covers their costs for like free agency and a couple of bigger salaries this year, which is good. I mean, that's not you know that's a significant sum of money for an MPB team, especially a smaller market one like Cebu and Yakult. But in general, when you look at how Yoshinobu Yamamoto got a $50 million posting fee going back to Oryx, it shows you have to be that kind of like bona fide generational like slam dunk talent for any you know amount of like big money to be going back to the MPB team, and that's just not a very good system to have
Yeah,
You
it's
just go
not.
back 15 years, and with the blind bid system that we had, Boston paid 50 million for Daisuke Matsuzaka on top of his like giant salary. So under the old system, just 15 years ago, we were seeing guys get these massive, posting
I
fees
wonder
that could
what
entice.
Daisuke would get now.
Yeah,
Oh, just curious, but yeah,
yeah. What would Daisuke get now? It's a
yeah.
curious conversation, right?
I
But
mean, uh, and like the hindsight of knowing what happened in his career, but like I'm with you. Like the posting system now is just. I think it's gonna get fixed in the next CBA. Like I really highly doubt that MPB owners and MPB is okay with the posting system now. There's going to
mhm,
be some type of upgrade. Uh, Look, if Imai can't get 150, I know that we've like hinted before, like Shinpeita's such a talent that like he could get 200 mil, 250. I don't know if you're giving Shinpeita $250 million. I mean, we're talking about a guy who hasn't stayed healthy. So I just don't know like what you have to do to get that level of money unless you're, as we both have said when he was coming over, unless you're a top 10 pitching talent in the world. And that was the craziest thing about the Yamamoto thing was everyone's like, oh, you're gonna give this money to a guy who's never pitched in MLB. But if you watched him pitch in MPB and you just watched him, he was a top 10, top 15 pitching
yeah,
talent in the world. And so I just think you need to fix a system that doesn't emphasize MPB and doesn't incentivize players to take the long term deal, and then it ends up like making it so sour for the fact that your Colt posted Murakami or
yeah.
like Seibu didn't have to post Imai, and I think they're doing him a solid by posting him and letting him go over. And it's just one of those things where they just didn't get that much money back. They didn't really get a value for it. That's just tough. It really is.
And as the years go on, you lose this sort of mystery and mystique attached to the MPB guys. Where in the past with Daisuke,
Yeah,
Arabu, like MLB fans were always like, "Oh, these pitchers from the land of the rising sun. Like, what are they? What are they going to do? Like, we have no idea. It's like opening a mystery box." Now we've seen so many guys make the transition. There's a little bit more, stability. Generally speaking, like there's still obviously some questions here and there, but we kind of know how the transition is going to go. And we're at a point now with the posting system where it's kind of going to end up being a lose lose if the posting fees are so small that MPB teams are just going to say, "Hey, we're going to hang on to our superstars then," and
right.
then MLB teams aren't going to be seeing these great talents make their way across the Pacific in their primes anymore, which is again a lose lose for global fans. Like if MPB teams get properly compensated for young stars, and let's not even mention the Roki Sasaki saga where they get, I mean,
Yeah,
literally pocket change for a world class talent because he was under the age of 25 and was subject to the amateur bonus pool money
yeah.
restrictions. We have to get to a point where MPB teams are properly being compensated, and that will help the entire ecosystem because then MPB teams can reinvest that into their development. Japanese teams get better. There's more talent coming into MPB. They can reinvest that into grabbing, say, better, even better foreign players like actual established like lower end major league players coming back to MPB. It's just going to make a better league for both countries. So I do hope we see that in the coming years.
You have three jerseys hanging behind you. I think it's Murakami, Shinapeta, and Sato. Sato has a very similar profile to Munetaka. How much is
Yeah.
Sato gonna get if he comes over? Like, is Hanshin even gonna post him because of what's happened with Murakami? So again, I just think we're being robbed as fans of like these guys want to play in MLB, and I totally get it. Like they want to come over and prove themselves in the best league in the world, but we're also talking about the second best league in the world not being fairly compensated for these guys coming over, and so yeah, I do think something has to change at some point. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. MLB teams got to pay MPB teams more, and MPB teams got to pay their players more because the,
Yeah,
the salaries for some of these superstars are just not quite enough. Let's transition to Samurai Japan. Manager Hirokazu Ibata announced the first 8 players around Christmas time, headlined by Shohei Ohtani, obviously. And then just yesterday, so really good timing as we're recording this
yeah,
today, he revealed 11 more confirmed participants. So now 19 out of the 30 spots for the WBC team are already filled. There's only, 4 or 5 left for both pitchers and position players each. But before we jump into that, What do you think about the way Team USA and Dominican Republic are shaping up? Do you think Japan, who have won three WBCs before and they won it in 2023, do they have a chance to repeat against these all-time stacked rosters?
What the U.S. is doing, I guess they lost, and Mark DeRosa was like, "Hey guys, we gotta send up the bat signal. It's time to bring in some pitchers." And man, have they brought in some pitchers? I mean, Scoobles, Scooble and Skeens are the two best pitchers on the planet right now. I actually think Yamamoto would be in that conversation with Crochet. Yeah, when you add those two guys, I just
Two
think
Cy Young
anything.
winners.
Right, two Cy Young winners. I think anything is like possible once you add those two guys, and then you just talk about the lineup of USA and just like all the bats they have, and then the Dominican Republic is stacked. Like they are loaded with their lineup. It's gonna be a fun WBC. I'm almost questioning if Japan has enough to like win now because Dominican's lineup is sick. Like it might be a Dominican Republic Team USA final. I have to check the bracket again just to make sure that it makes sense in my head. But yeah, I could totally see like I mean, you talk about other teams just being better than they have been in the past. This is going to be one of the best World Baseball Classic. I think it is going to be the best World Baseball Classic we've had so far, and it's clear that like players want to play in it. And you just look at Team USA and Team Japan, and then also the Dominican with how many guys they're getting to actually commit to play.
As someone who watches, loves, covers Samurai Japan, I have to say the 2026 team is not as exciting as the 2023 team.
Yeah,
And that could change. Like there's still 11 more spots to fill. You can still salvage this, but there are areas of this team that are a little bit disappointing in the sense that 2023 we had Roki Sasaki at his absolute peak, joining a rotation with Yoshinobu Yamamoto coming off multiple Sawamuras and what was
yeah,
going to be his final NPB season before he got posted to the Dodgers. But we had Shohei Otani, who was still coming off, one of his best pitching seasons while healthy. And then, veteran Yu Darvish, Shota Imanaga. Like these were the types of starters that Japan had for the 2023 team. A lot of these guys were at their peak or close to it. But now, Roki Sasaki, I mean, who knows if he was even going to start because he was pitching out of the bullpen in the playoffs for the Dodgers, but he is not going to participate in this tournament. And neither is Tatsuya Imai. Tatsuya Imai said that he wants to focus his first full spring training to adjust to MLB, which I totally respect from a career standpoint, but that really hurts for the Samurai. And they've added, Tomoyuki Sugano and Yusei Kikuchi, two guys that are obviously on the older end of the spectrum. Kikuchi, I think 34, Sugano 36. Both these guys are, I would say, fine, but they just don't have the level of excitement that Japan brought out of the rotation in 2023. Now, if you still have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which is not confirmed yet, and you already have Otani, I don't know what kind of role he's going to be in. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a closer? Is he going to be both like he was last time? And then you throw in there a couple of the big name NPB guys. Then this team is still really good, and I think they can compete. But as of right now, I don't think their pitching is even at 80% of what it was in
yeah,
2023. And then, not to mention the fact that the hitting just is not going to compete with USA and Dominican in terms of upside, at least. You have great players here, don't get me wrong. And I'll get into all the confirmed players in a moment. But if Murakami and Okamoto participate, Seiya Suzuki, throw him in there too. Those are like three, legit sluggers. Plus Sato, Shugo Maki, Kensuke
yeah.
Kondo. The lineup's good, but it just isn't the 1 through 9, everyone being like a 25 to 30 plus homer bat because Japan at positions like catcher, shortstop, I don't know who's going to play center field even right now, but like there are holes on this
Yeah.
team offensively that USA, Dominican, and even, some of the other Latin American teams, they just don't have these kind of like weaknesses, I guess.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny because the Dominican is like trying to figure out if Junior Caminero is going to play for them. Like if Junior Caminero is going to be on the field, like that's like they have Manny, they have Marte, they have Perdomo, they have Jose Ramirez, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis. Like that lineup is stacked, and I feel like you need the 2023 WBC pitching staff for Japan to even like have a chance against like that type of lineup. Now, if you confirm like a Yamamoto's pitching for this team, or like I mean, yeah, you can get into like who's confirmed and who we can talk about who we want to be there, but there's some guys that I think they have to roster at this point to really stand up and like have a true chance against like the DR or with Team USA. And like I mean, Bryce Harper is there. Byron Buxton's been confirmed. Like I do think the lineups for certain teams are more stacked than the Japan team, but I do think Japan's like lineup from top to bottom is like nice in terms of I think they can get themselves to the knockout stage pretty easily, and then as long as you score like 3 or 4 runs, maybe your pitching staff can like hold a team to like 3 runs. And that's where we can like kind of talk about like using the bullpen and like piggybacking guys and stuff like that. Because I think there's one dude that they have to roster now based off of the DR's lineup and based off the US's lineup. And we can get back into that a little bit later. There's one guy they have to roster from a pitching standpoint.
Yeah, and I just don't know if that guy, Shunpei Yamashita,
Yeah.
is going to be selected based on his injury history, based on the fact that he has these lingering back issues. We don't know what his medicals are. If he's not rostered, and then I mean his teammate Hiroya Miyagi is obviously another one that you really need.
If he's not if they're both not rostered, I don't know. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what gives me hope that at least one of them will be there is that they went with Kenya Wakatsuki as one of the catchers,
Yeah.
and obviously he had great rapport with Yoshinobu Yamamoto as well. The fact that they've selected Wakatsuki to me signals that there should be some Oryx pitchers here.
And he might start too, Wakaski. We could see that
Yeah,
being a real thing.
yeah, and something else to be said about Samurai Japan is I do respect that they kind of take this roster construction stand process on a very almost like real team level, like
They're
not just
team
like
building. Yeah.
yeah, they're team building. It's not just like let's make an all-star team. They actually
That's
look like
funny.
okay, this guy's a super utility man. This guy's done, you know, this guy's pitched in the seventh and eighth inning in high leverage roles before. It's like they can actually pick and choose guys based on their specific skill sets and experience, as opposed to just saying, you know, this guy's a really talented player. You know, don't know where to put him, but we'll make it work. Um, let's talk about the pitching staff though, because we currently have 10 names here confirmed. You know, Shohei Otani, two-way player, obviously. I don't know to what extent he pitches, but I'm sure there's going to
He's
be.
closing, right? He's
You would think, right? But I think it's up to him. It's whatever he wants to do, right? Because
yeah.
with Otani, you just gotta let the guy decide himself. But other than Otani, you have Tomoyuki Sugano, who's a free agent at this point, probably going to get another MLB deal with some team to be like their number 5 starter. Absolute legend of the game in Japan. You know, Yomiuri Giants ace for many years, one of the better pitchers of not just this generation, but really in MPB history. So I do want to point that out. Like his command, his pitchability, we know it is legit. But the second half last year for Baltimore was really rough. He had an ERA over 6 in the second half. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. As long as he is pitching against some of Japan's, you know, weaker opponents in the group stage, I think it's fine. But I don't necessarily want to see him in like the big games.
I've been joking with Phil Shark. What is it? The March 6th or the game against the Czech.
Yes.
Are we gonna see like Sugano go 5 deep against Czechia or something like that? Or
yeah,
Chinese
Sugano
Taipei
is
or something like that.
Yeah, Sugano can absolutely, you know, get the job done against the weaker lineups in their pool. But yeah, I mean, apart from Czech Republic, like this is a much stronger pool than last time because you have Chinese Taipei replacing China, and Chinese Taipei beat Japan in the Premier 12 finals. Like, granted, Japan was putting out essentially its C team, but I do want to point out like that was a great kind of spirited effort by Chinese Taipei to pull off that upset while Japan was on like a 27, 28 game winning streak at international major competitions. Like that was a big upset on home soil for Japan for Chinese Taipei to take gold there. And then you have Korea and Australia who are legit. Korea especially with the lineup. Like Korea's
Yeah.
pitching, I must say, is not good, but they can absolutely hit. So I would throw Sugano out against Czech Republic or Australia probably.
Yeah, March 10th. Circle the date. That's
Yeah,
Sugano Day. We're going 14.
Sugano Day,
March 10th.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is going to be fun to see him back at Tokyo Dome and stuff like
Oh, it will
that.
be.
But otherwise, so for right-handed pitchers, you have Hiromi Ito, love it, Saomura Award
We
winner.
can get into a little bit of stuff. Piggybacking? I don't mind a piggyback
Yeah,
there.
one
We'll
of
get into
our
it.
absolute favorites. One of our absolute favorites here on the Talking Yakyu podcast. Atsuki Tanaichi of the Chibalote Marines, love that as well. One of the best pitchers in MPB, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Kaima Taira, who we weren't sure about because just like he was in 2023, he is once again transitioning, being stretched out as a starter, something he's already done once before, though. So now he is comfortable participating in this tournament. And then they added yesterday Yuki Matsumoto from the SoftBank Hawks, one of their big relievers.
Solid.
Couple others relievers that were already announced before are Daichi Ishii of the Hanshin Tigers, the 0.17 ERA this past season. Like you just had to include him, obviously.
He's gonna fireman again. I think for the Samurai team, he's firemanning. I think he's going in if there's like trouble.
And Taisei for the Yomiuri Giants. So this is a really good group of guys in terms of just with the MPB side. Ito, Tanaichi, Taira, Matsumoto, Ishii, Taisei. Those are the currently confirmed right-handers. And so feel free to talk about any of these guys that you want to.
Yeah, let's start with I think Ito and Taira could be like a piggyback 1-2, like go 6 innings, 7 innings type of thing. I see that as a real possibility. Tanaichi, I think you could use as like a matchup based. Hey, this guy's fastball can get us through some lineups, but he also has the splitter to work off of it. So he might be more of like a bullpen option. We'll see like in terms of where they go with the starters and stuff like that. But then you do have like Ishii and Matsumoto being like the actual bullpen pieces. And so I do think there's a good mix of like we have starters who can like piggyback and throw like 3 or 4 innings here and do what they want. But also I think when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, like MPB, like Japanese teams are more willing to be like, yeah, I mean, not that they're gonna let like Aito go out there and throw 7 innings. I don't think that's like the case, but you could see them stretched out to like 4 or 5 innings in certain aspects.
As long as they get to there's the pitch count limit, but as long as they're efficient enough, I mean, you can do 5, sometimes even 6. Ito, I would personally like to see him start, especially if we're talking like Sugano and Kikuchi in the rotation, then yes, please give me Hiromi Ito. Like if Japan was rolling out its absolute best guys and you had Yamamoto, Otani, Imai, Yamashita, then it's like, okay, then Ito can be kind of the follower, and maybe he does end up playing that role anyway. But I would not mind Ito as one of, the 2 or 3 best starters in MPB, like indisputably so. I wouldn't mind him getting a start here, even against like a good opponent.
Would be the follow guy at that point, probably.
I think Taira is pitching a more traditional relief role in this tournament. I think he's going 1 to maybe 2 innings. I think he's talked about that himself, where he said he doesn't know what Ibata has planned for him, but he expects it to be as more of a reliever, where he can be high octane and just unleash that arsenal, high 90s. That's going to be fun. And Tanaichi, I think, is a good follower candidate as well. I think Shosei Togo played this role kind of last tournament where he comes in and gives you like 3 or 4 innings. But Tanaichi is a strikeout machine. I mean, we saw at the end of the season, I mean, he was just mowing down lineups. He had a 15 strikeout game at the end.
I think things just clicked for him. Like Tanaichi, like I've told you in like messages, like he's like a top 5 pitcher for me right now in MPB. Like with that second half and what he did, like I think sky's the limit for like what he can do this upcoming season, and this WBC might be a good showcase of like if he gets into a knockout stage game against a certain team, and it's like, okay, man, like go give us 6 outs, like let's see what you can do. I wouldn't mind that,
And if they do happen to get into like a final situation against USA again, I do think they will opt for the kind of alignment they did last time, which is like 1 inning for everyone. Just give us your best stuff for 1 inning, and that will play for Tanaichi as well. Guys who have not been added yet, again, these are just right-handed pitchers. Yamamoto, again, fingers crossed he is confirmed. Like, he obviously wants to participate. I don't know what they're trying to iron out. Maybe it's like an innings limit type thing, but Yamamoto absolutely has to be there. World Series MVP, one of the best pitchers in the world. If he's not there, I mean, this whole project is falling apart. Yamashita, again, it's all health dependent. He is, to me, the most talented pitcher in Japan right now, but we'll see based on his health. He only made 4 or 5 starts last year. Health also applies to Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga for the
Yeah.
Mets is good enough to be on this team, but who knows how his medicals are or if he is able to participate. And then I think one of the big names we haven't seen announced yet is Shinya Matsuyama, the closer for the Chunichi Dragons. 46 saves this past year, and has the big electric stuff. He was there, in previous iterations of Samurai Japan under Ibata, but not yet selected. I'm getting worried because there's only a few spots remaining.
Can they go 5 pitchers and 3 hitters? Like I don't know if I just would they go more pitchers than you normally would.
I think you're gonna see 15 pitchers and 15 hitters. I think,
Yeah.
and there's currently 10 pitchers announced, including Otani. So there is still room, but there's you got guys like Hiroto Saiki and stuff like this that I know are and Naoto Nishiguchi that are really trying their hardest to make an impression and get on the team as well. So
Right.
there's a lot of avenues for them to go. Lefties, there's only 2 currently confirmed. It's Yusei Kikuchi and Yuki Matsui. Obviously, both of them in MLB. Kikuchi is a starter. Matsui is a reliever. He's been pretty solid, I would say, as a lower leverage, sometimes high leverage reliever for the Padres.
There's been a
Kind of
lot of
goes under
trade
the
talks
radar,
with
though.
him.
Yeah, a lot of
his
trade
contract.
talks.
A lot of trade talks
Yeah.
with him recently.
But with him, I mean, when he was with Rakuten, he was like the number 1 or number 2 closer in Japan. So
yeah.
totally fine with him being there. In 2023, he had trouble adjusting to the MLB ball, and he ended up only throwing 1 inning in the tournament because he just was not in great form. But now that he's used to MLB ball, pitch clock, all that, and that is another thing I should point out with guys like Sugano and Kikuchi. Like, they bring experience, obviously, in terms of their veteranship, but also they have played with the pitch clock and an MLB ball, which the WBC will be using.
Like just giving guys some tips and stuff like that. Yeah, every time I pull up the pitch tempo stuff, Matsui is at the bottom of the pitch tempo at the clock every time. Yeah,
when he was in
works
MPB,
so
he was
slow.
like 30 to 35 seconds between
Yeah.
pitches sometimes.
He
insane.
does. Yeah, so I guess from a right-handed standpoint, Yamamoto has to probably be there. If Senga's healthy, he's probably there. Shinya Matsuyama, he might not be there, which is kind of crazy to me because I don't know who else you would be like leaving off if you're not going to go with Shinya. And then I'll go ahead and come out and say it. Shinpeita's the guy who I was mentioning has to be there, but if for some reason Shinpeita is not there, this is the hill I'm dying on. Miyagi has to be included. If Hiroya Miyagi is not included in this roster, then I'm not sure what Samurai Japan is doing. Because quite frankly, I would just give Miyagi the ball against like Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. Like, I'd be like, go get those 2 lefties out. Like that. Like, I don't even care if you use Miyagi in like a starting role or whatever the case is. I think that guy needs to go up against the best left-handed hitters in the world. And I hope he's included on the roster. I know we haven't like brought it up, but I'll just go ahead and say it. I think Miyagi has to be on the roster.
Miyagi against lefties is kind of what Imai is against righties, right? In terms of just his ability to carve with just 2 pitches, essentially his fastball and sweeper. Miyagi is world class, and his glove side command that we've talked about, I mean, it is among the best in the world.
I
certainly
pulled up another
in MPB.
Miyagi game last night, and I was just watching. I was like, this glove side command is 70 grade. Like, it is disgusting what he can do. I pulled up was a July 9th start because I was looking at Ozeki, and he carved Kondo. Like, he made Kondo. It was like the worst at bats I've seen of Kensuke Kondo's career. It was just like sweeper away, strike, and then fastball paint. Like, it was just disgusting. I was like, who else is doing this to left-hand hitters? So yeah, Hiroya has to be on.
So there's absolutely room for at least one more lefty to go with Kikuchi and Matsui. I hope that is Miyagi. It could also be Shota Imanaga, of course. Like, I don't know if what his participation status is. Didn't have the best end to 2025, so maybe he wants to have a full spring with the Cubs. Chihiro Sumida, also one of my favorites. I kind of was low key hoping for him to be there. I don't think with this current like group that they've gone with, like there's a spot for him, but I definitely wouldn't mind it. Like maybe there is room for two southpaws, in which case Miyagi and Imanaga, but then you wouldn't have space for say Senga. Like out of these MLB guys remaining, Yamamoto, Imanaga, Senga, I'm pretty sure like Ibata, the way he was hinting
True.
at like half the pitching staff being from the majors, like there should be at least two more of these guys, but you never know with MLB teams, right? Like maybe there have been talks behind the scenes where it's like we don't want XYZ to
The
participate.
Cubs were mad he took the qualifying offer, so they're like, get out. You can't go. You can't go. No, I'm kidding. But yeah,
Yeah, but
we'll see. So does that mean Shinya Matsuyama is like out? Right? I mean
I
that.
think Shinya Matsuyama should still be in. I think the guy
Okay.
who's out is like I think Kazuki Sugiyama and Koya Fuji, like these and
Okay.
Naoto Nishiguchi, maybe these guys are out because of the selection of Matsumoto. I find it fascinating that they went with Matsumoto as opposed to Fuji and Sugiyama. That there's that three-headed
Yeah.
dragon on SoftBank. I personally, just based on raw stuff, would go Sugiyama or Fuji. I mean, their strikeout
Right.
rates, their whiff rates are off the charts, but Matsumoto a bit more experienced in that setup type role, and he's not going to be closing for this team. So I mean I don't mind it. I think Matsumoto's a really good pitcher. He had a 1.07 ERA last
Yeah,
year. You
he
got to
was
be doing
good.
something right. But yeah, I mean I think the closer at this point is either Otani or Taisei, which I mean that's fine, but I think Shinya Matsuyama would make that would make your life a lot easier if you can have Otani be in a swingman role to do either like start early in the tournament and then close in the final like he did last time, and then Taisei and Matsuyama as kind of your dual co-closers, so to speak.
I think you can also, and we've talked about this. You can use Matsuyama and Taisei. We've talked about it with Rydell and Taisei, but you can use it as like an arm angle, like weird
Yeah,
look thing where it's just like you get this over the top with Matsuyama, and then you get this sidearm look with Taisei. I think it could work in terms of like piggybacking those two like back to back, or even those guys facing each other. I also think Matsuyama's like platoon neutrality in terms of like the splitter. I think you have to roster him solely based off like the fact that he can get both handing us out, and I don't think the three batter minimum is gonna like affect him in
yeah,
terms of like getting through innings and stuff like that. So I
yeah,
personally would roster him, but I mean, there's just not enough space for all these guys at this point, and we
yeah.
we have talked about how the roster, like the staff, isn't as good as it was in 2023. It just isn't.
Yeah. And, you will have guys that inevitably like drop out or maybe they
Yeah, something
feel not
happens.
even an injury, but they get a little bit uncomfortable in like the training camp phase. And then they're like, I don't want to hurt the team. So then they drop out and they bring someone else in. They did that last time with like a Roji Korebayashi who got replaced by Soichiro Yamazaki. Look, don't get me wrong. I think this pitching staff is really good. It's top three, probably even top two in the tournament because I know the
Yeah, it
Dominican
is.
team doesn't get that hasn't been getting all their guys either. But again, there are ways to make this a lot better if you just make the right selections with the remaining spots. Position player wise, for catchers, Seishiro Sakamoto for the Hanshin Tigers and Kenya Wakatsuki for the Oryx Buffaloes are the two they've gone with so far. There will be one more. Ibata's already said there will be three. That could be Shogo
Mm.
Sakakura. That could be Yudai Yamamoto, Yukinori Kishida. I think those are the most likely candidates. How about you talk a little bit about Sakamoto or Wakatsuki? I mean, Sakamoto won the SIS Fielding Bible Award, right? He is arguably the best framer in Japan.
Sakamoto's a stud. When you watch him, obviously the framing metrics, like it's great to have the framing numbers and like see it. But when you watch him, you're like this guy clearly still strikes. He does things behind the plate that like just stands out. And yeah, I'm a big fan of him just as like a defender. So I think he could be like a late inning defender type of replacement. And I think you end up going with Wadasuki as like the I think you end up going with him as like the offensive starter almost, and especially like as you mentioned, they're kind of rostering him, and he has all these relationships with these Oryx guys. I think it's very possible that like he's going to be the offensive starter at the beginning of games, and then you might go to like a Sakamoto at the end in terms of like putting him behind the plate and just like letting him cook as like a framer. And I actually think his arm's
Yeah.
pretty good too. Like there's a lot of really good things about him. Like we've talked about it or not extensively, but like you've had your opinions about Kai and I've had my opinions about Kai. I think there's some things that Kai does exceptionally well that can't be quantified, but I don't think it makes up for the fact that like Sakamoto is clearly the best framer in
Yeah.
the league and is also like has a really good arm and stuff like that. So I think just rostering those two guys are like no brainers in my opinion.
And I'll credit Kai for making actual
Yeah, and he
tangible
did.
improvements to his framing over the years. But when he was there for 2023, I mean, there was a pitch where on the tracker it was quite literally like down the middle with
Yeah,
Hiromi
it was
Ito on the
bad.
mound, and it got called a ball. So Kai was just not a great framer for the 2023 team. He was there mostly for experience, rapport. Yes, his blocking and arm are elite. We know that. But I was a little bit disappointed in like just sticking with him like over and over and over until in the latter stages they did finally switch to Yuhei Nakamura, who at the time was
Yeah.
one of the best catchers in MPB and had a little bit more offensive upside. He ended up catching for Otani in the ninth inning, having never even caught Otani in a bullpen. So he was talking about how nervous he was, but he got the job done.
I can't believe he
Um,
caught that like 19-inch sweeper like
yeah, that's
88 or
insane,
whatever it
right?
was. Yeah, it's just so crazy.
Yeah, and
Uh,
and Nakamura is still he was actually on the November exhibition roster team. I think more
Yeah.
as like a transition person to kind of pass the torch and give his experience to guys like Sakamoto, Wakatsuki, and then the other one there was Kishida at the time. But Sakakura was on the All World team for the Premier 12, and I
Mm.
do think he has among the most offensive upsides out of Japanese backstop. So I would probably go with either him or Yudai Yamamoto, who's another elite framer. How about the infield? You got Shugo Maki for the DNA Bay Stars. You got Teraraki Sato for the Hanshin Tigers. And the surprising one to me was Sosuke Genda for the Cebu Lions.
Oh man, stud defensive wizard.
Yeah, Genda. This was funny. You saw a lot of Japanese people on Twitter joking yesterday that, phew, for a second there, I thought Genda got selected to the WBC team, and wait, he actually did. It's more surprising just from the standpoint
Yeah.
of for the past year or two, we have all been talking about who's the successor to Genda going to be for Samurai Japan because he's on the decline. He had an off the field scandal. It just seemed like everything was pointing towards they're moving on from him. Who's it going to be? Is it Yuta Izuguchi, Kotaro Kuribayashi, Kaito Kozono? These are all guys that Ibata has experience rostering, but he plays it safe. He plays it super conservative by just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go with the guy that was there last time in Sosuke Genda." Now, could they add another shortstop and he's the starter, Genda's the backup? Yes, but at this point in time, like we're not 100% sure on his plans. So Maki and Sato are two top three, top four players in all of
Yeah.
MPB. I would say awesome selections. But
Sato's
yeah,
the
talk
best
about
right-handed or best left-handed hitter in the sport outside of Kendo. I mean, outside of Kondo,
yeah,
right? Yeah, best left-handed
yeah,
hitter in MPB for me.
absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, talk about like breaking out in a big way for Sato last year, getting to the 40 homer mark finally. Not that he's been bad in previous years, but like that was obviously where he was setting his heights on, was to get to that 40 homer mark, and he did it in style last year. Won the Central League MVP. So the only difficult part of the equation with Sato is he's a third baseman right now. You have Kazuma Okamoto and Munetaka Murakami. Now Murakami is going to play first base in MLB, so you pencil him in for first. But Okamoto would be the third baseman, and that would force Sato back into the outfield, which is really stacked
Not
with
the bad, not bad.
Shota Morishita, Ukyo Shuto, Kensuke Kondo, Taisei Makihara. There's three SoftBank Hawks players there, and then Morishita on the Hanshin Tigers. And then you already know that guys like Seiya Suzuki in an ideal world would be added, maybe even Masataka Yoshida for, he's not much of a defender at this point, but the outfield is getting really crowded.
Yeah,
If you
really
throw
crowded.
Sato into that mix, how do you make that work?
Welcome to iPad, Kondo. I don't know. Like, is Kondo gonna DH at that point? Like, I just
But DH is blocked by Otani.
yeah, that's true. It is. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough decision. I don't want to be the person to make that decision. I will say I think Sato has to be a starter.
Start.
Like I think he has to
Yeah.
start. I don't know what that does for like pushing someone out of a right field or left field, but But yeah, I almost like I understand Otani's blocking DH, so it just makes it like so much more difficult to like figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah, I
It
almost think Kondo is gonna play left or right. Sato's gonna play
yeah.
left or right, and then you're just gonna put your best
It
defensive
does
center
make
fielder
me
in
think,
center field.
and I'm not sure like what the status is with Okamoto and Murakami, but it almost makes me think maybe one of them are not participating.
Yeah,
In
they're
which
not coming.
case, then it works out. Say
Yeah, then Sato just plays third.
yeah, Sato plays third. You could have Okamoto play first, or if Okamoto's not there, Murakami plays first. Like Murakami has said he wants to participate, but things can change after discussions with some teams, right? So I think in an ideal world, it would go Murakami first, Okamoto third, Sato back into corner. But then again, does that mean Seiya Suzuki or Masataka Yoshida? Maybe one of them are not being rostered because Yoshida is effectively a DH at this point.
I want Yoshida there for the pinch hit factor. Like I
Yeah,
want him there to pinch hit.
he
I
had
hate
the
to like
clutch
say
moment
that,
against
but
Mexico with the 3-run shot, right? And
yeah,
you just feel a sense of
he's
safety
such a good
whenever he's at the
right.
plate. Like you
Well,
just
no, his
feel like he's gonna get the
profile.
hit.
His
Yeah.
profile is like indicative of like a pinch hitter almost. It's like if I pinch hit him late in the game with like someone who I don't trust as much, like let's say they pinch hit the shortstop or something, or they pinch hit the catcher, and then they're going back to the second catcher. I trust Yoshida to give me a good at bat. Same with Seiya. Like I almost want Seiya there, even if he doesn't play the entire time. I also think you could like give Sato a game off and play Seiya for one game, and then play Sato for the next one, and pinch hit like late in the game. Like I want Yoshida and Seiya there just to like pinch hit almost. I was gonna get really like big brain with you and be like, does Takazawa need to be rostered as like a defensive replacement? I don't think that's going to be the case in terms of Samurai Japan, but
I think
we
it
could see it.
absolutely could have had they not gone for Taisei Makihara, who is
Yeah.
essentially that exact like utility man, super
Yep.
utility man who plays primarily second now for SoftBank, but before he was
But
their
he can
starting
play
center
everywhere.
fielder, and he can play third, he can play short, he can obviously play the other corners, and he can pinch run because consistently in terms of all like the sprint speed and time to first base metrics, it is Ukyo Shuto, it is Taisei Makihara, those two teammates on SoftBank, and then Masaki Mimori, who also was former Hawk, now a base star. Those guys are just their speed is off the charts.
Was there a
Isobata
former
for
Olympic
the
track
fighters as well.
sprinter who? Yeah, am I like misremembering that? There's
No,
someone
that's
who's like
Ryota
super fast.
Isobata. Ryota
Okay,
Isobata,
Isobata. Okay.
yeah, he beat some famous like actual current like Olympians
Okay.
during his high school days. He was there in the November team, and I kind of figured like, hey,
As like a
maybe
pinch running
Ibata
option, right?
is pinch run and like defensive specialist. They were sort of like getting him geared to maybe be a Shuto replacement if
Mm.
necessary. Like say if Shuto got hurt or something, came up. But I think based on this current alignment now, Makihara's your utility man. Shuto could genuinely be the starting center fielder just based on the fact that he is an absolutely
Yeah, I do
elite,
like him.
cracked out defensive center fielder. Fast, and even the bat last year was pretty good. I mean, he's above average hitter. I'm not sure how that plays against like MLB pitching, but like he can hit a little bit. But what I actually think is going to happen is maybe Shota Morishita plays center field, which is a little bit
Oh.
odd because Morishita has 13 career games in center, and he did not play a single game there last year. He was all in right field. However, during the November exhibitions, Ibata stuck him out there for a couple innings.
He was thinking about this. It's in his head. It's running,
Because
turning
I don't
gears.
know who else plays center for this team. Lars Nootbaar is injured. He would have been the obvious choice in terms of his you know not just on field production, but like his off the field personality and being kind of like a team captain last year, or for the 2023 team. Like Nootbaar would have been a nice choice, but now it's kind of looking a little bit dicey in terms of center field. So I think that's how you find Marishta's bat into this lineup is you stick him in center. There's guys like Chusei Manami and Shun Mizutani, those two Nippon Ham Fighters guys who could also play a little bit of center. I thought they would be candidates as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's like Marishta center, and then you figure it out with the wings in terms of Seiya Suzuki, Kondo, Teraraki Sato, Masataka Yoshida. There's like
I
four
think you
guys
just
for two
roster them
spots.
all, right? You just
Yeah.
roster all four and you figure it out. Like you play it by ear. Actually, I like the Marishita shout in center field. I personally think that's what Ibuta's going to do. He's going to roster Marishita, play him for the majority of the game in center field, and then hey, when it's the eighth or ninth inning or like the seventh inning, and Marishita's bat is really not coming up again, we're putting Shuto out there, and we're just gonna be like, go get the ball, man. Like, let's
Yeah.
go play elite defensive center field and just go get the ball. I think Team USA could do that with Pico Armstrong. Byron Buxton's an awesome defender, but maybe if the Twins don't want him playing 9 innings, PCA pinch run, and then you just throw him out in the outfield. I think that's a real possibility for Samurai Japan in terms of. I think that might be what they do for most of the tournament. And I actually don't mind doing like matchup based platoons as well. Being like, okay, we're facing this pitching staff, like let's go with the righties. Okay, we're facing this pitching staff, let's go with the lefties in terms of the outfield. I think you just roster all of them, but I don't know if there's enough space for that too. So, this is where like I don't want to be the guy to make that decision because that's a really tough decision. Someone's getting left out probably.
Yeah, and Morishita was hitting cleanup at the Premier 12, so really being
Yeah.
set up to kind of be the the next, big guy for Samurai Japan. That's what Seiya Suzuki did at the 2019 Premier 12, was he was hitting cleanup, and then obviously he played a big role at the Olympics. He was going to play a big role at
Yeah.
the WBC, but then he dropped out, which kind of worked out because it made room for Kondo and Okamoto, both of them to be full time players in the last edition. But yeah, I think Outfield is just so unbelievably loaded that they'll find some way to make it work. It's almost impossible to not. I will say, like, it's kind of sad Yuki Yanagita can't be there. I know he really wanted to be,
Yeah.
but when Otani's blocking DH and Yanagita at this point is no longer like capable of center, it's tough.
I was gonna
And
say you
and
can almost roster him and just pinch hit him as well, but I mean, I
yeah,
just don't
and
think
if
he can do it.
if Yoshida's not there, then Yanagita would probably be my first pick to play
Would be
that
the
role
pinch
because
hit, yeah,
he is
option.
Mr. High Leverage. I mean, Yanagita took Daichi Ishii deep last year when Ishii
Yeah.
had been on a 52 game scoreless appearance streak. So yeah, I mean that's we went into a little bit of depth on. I think all of these guys so far confirmed for the WBC team. Eventually, once we know the entire 30-man roster, we will continue to do some deeper breakdowns. But that's where we're at for the 2026 World Baseball Classic at the moment. Who's going to win the WBC? I know we're still a few months out, but what's your prediction right now?
Yeah, I know I'm an American, but I think it's really hard for me to be like the DR isn't gonna outslug teams and just put up 10 runs. I think it ends up being a final of either those three teams, Japan, Dominican Republic, or the US is in one of those three teams is gonna win it. I would lean the DR, but I do think the US kind of has an inside track if they allow Scooble and Skeens to like actually pitch. It's hard to be like the two best pitchers in the world, and two Cy Young winners aren't out there carving guys up. But it's gonna be a really fun tournament for sure.
Yeah, I like the DR's lineup more, but USA's pitching is just it's something else. It might be the best pitching staff literally ever assembled,
Yeah,
and that's could have been even better if you had like Crochet in there. But this is an exciting development, obviously, for international baseball and tournament in general, that it is being taken, so seriously now. For Team Japan as well, if they get an opportunity to play against the best of the best, that's what they want. Obviously, they want to push themselves and test their best abilities. Like they don't want people on Twitter to be talking about, oh, okay, Okamoto homered in the final, but that was off Kyle Freeland. Like they want to
yeah.
be homering off the best of the best too, and even if they lose, so it will be a really good thing for the sport in general to see all these superstars participate. But yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Brandon, where can people find you, and what else are you up to this off season?
Yeah, on X/Twitter, my name is Brandon Two Wheats. So my name Brandon, and then TEW, and then EETS. That was a clever handle, and I'm not changing anytime soon. Yeah, and in terms of stuff I'm working on, at Prospects Live, I'm writing up a bunch of top 20 team write ups and stuff like that. I have Cheya Savage coming down as like a pitcher. I'm evaluating Parker Messick. I just wrote up. Gauge Jump I wrote up earlier this offseason and stuff like that. So I'm really writing up a bunch of like the best pitchers in each organization, and then yeah, I'll kind of hint at later on, like middle of January, end of January. I'm gonna start rounding up like a top five starters in MPB, and I'm gonna unveil like the top five starters as we roll out and kind of have a deeper in-depth scouting report on those top five guys. I'm just really excited to write about guys like Hirami Ito and Levon Winello and Shinpeitu Yamashita and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just really excited to get that MPB content flowing at Prospects Live.
Yeah, and we'll talk about guys like Moinello, hopefully for Team Cuba, because there are a lot of WBC guys there from MPB, so that'll be fun. I am Yuri Karasawa. I'm at Yakyu Cosmo on Twitter/X. That's it for us today. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.